Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Lucid's 2022 tournament game 4, where we are playing Nazca. This is turn 36. Ooh, I feel like we've come so far past where we thought we would end, basically. It's very exciting. I feel like every turn is a gift. Maybe. Anyways, let's get through this, shall we? We have some incoming trade. We have 2 lightless lanterns coming in from Ulm. So this is just continuing our trading with Ulm as we kind of try to gear up our research, try to play catch up, and see what we can do with some things. There is a dire portent, turn 36, first dire portent of the game. What do we got? Lord of Vanheim has proclaimed that the oak growing in his sacred grove is the mother oak, the oak that stands at the heart of the world. Okay, cool. So that means Global Vanheim just put up mother oak. Interesting. That's a little unfortunate because we were actually thinking last turn I talked about, you know, the idea that all the global slots are still up, right? Like nothing has been put up. And maybe we snag something like Riches from Beneath. On that list as well was Mother Oak, right? There's not a lot of big nature nations in this particular game, truth be told. So it's kind of like Mother Oak's one of those just like fair game for anybody kind of scenarios. Unfortunately, Vanheim has beat us to the punch on that. That does let us know, though, that Vanheim is sitting at least Alteration 5, which is not unexpected for them. So that's cool. Aside from that, we did some site searching. We cast 2 Haruspecs last turn, and we site searched with Kusi. Kusi found nothing. Haruspecs 1 found a Thorn Maze, and Haruspecs 2 found a Hidden Forest. So let's take a look at... Actually, here, I'm just going to put this on the thing, and then we'll take a look at it. This is site searching for the turn. We got Nature +1. We got Witch Recruitment. And we got Nature Range +2. So that is actually really interesting. Let's go talk about these, right? So this is the Thorn Maze. This gives us +1 Nature Gem. And this boosts Nature Ritual range by 2 provinces. Amusingly, it is right above the Rune of Air, which boosts Air Ritual range by 2 provinces. Again, both of these being where they are is somewhat annoying. But that being said, there's just not a lot of... There's not a lot of things that I think we're going to care about from a nature ritual range standpoint, right? Like if we take a look at like what would we even do? Call of the Wild, right? Like we can't do that through the sea, we can't target it underwater, so this being on our edge is not going to be something that we care about. I don't even know that there's stuff further on in Conjuration that we would really care that much about. Nothing there, nothing here. Fairy Trod could be interesting. This actually could be interesting because it's a forest kind of... you got to go from forest to forest, right? So Fairy Trod, we could crop up into another forest. That would be pretty interesting. This does boost that by an additional 2, which kind of compensates for the fact that it's on our eastern border when normally we would want it to be elsewhere. So we could potentially like jump into some faraway forest lands. So that could be neat. But overall, this is probably not something that we care too terribly much about, right? But still very neat to find it. The other thing that we found was down here, the Hidden Forest. I was wrong. It's not Nature +1, it's Nature +2. So getting the +2 Nature Gems, very happy about that, right? And then this one enables the recruitment of Witches. Witches are actually a pretty interesting little indie unit. If you don't already have access to Earth or Nature, or the Earth-Nature crosspath. Now, we have access to Earth and Nature and the Earth-Nature crosspath, believe, yeah, we have the Paquo of the Earth Mother, right, is Earth Nature. So the Witch, unfortunately, just isn't really that useful to us. It is a disease healer. Our Paquos are already disease healers. And it is sacred, so it is cheaper than our Paquos, technically. So this could actually be useful if we want to get a bunch of... if we want to get a bunch of disease healers for some sort of reason, then that could be potentially useful. But it does also mean that we would have to come down here, and because it is sacred, it needs both a lab and a temple, so that's 900 gold, right? I don't know that that's worth it. The aside being is for like the Paquos, they are heretics, so if we wanted to mass, for whatever reason, we wanted to mass a Earth and Nature Mage, then maybe it would be worthwhile for us to avoid the heretic tag and to make them cheaper, right? 76 gold per year versus, I think it's like 40 for the witches, 44. So there is that, right? Like, there is some usefulness to them. The aside, though, is that they're not... The Earth Nature crosspath isn't especially useful at lower levels of Earth and Nature. That's because things like, all you're really getting out of it is you get a couple of summons that are kind of whatever. I think like Manticores are Earth Nature. Again, kind of whatever. I think Iron Pigs are Earth Nature, kind of whatever. They have their uses, but it's not that big of a deal. What you normally look for with the Earth Nature crosspath is Gaia's Blessing, right? And Strength of Gaia, specifically to boost nature magic. The issue with this is Gaia's Blessing, you have to be like Nature 5, Earth 3, or something like that. And even Strength of Gaia, I think, is what? Strength of Gaia is like Nature 3, Earth 1. So we would need boosters to even be able to make use of those things. So it's kind of a rough sell, but it is possible, right? It is something that we could do. We could take a communion mace or Chrism matrix and throw it on a witch and have, you know, a 2 to 4 person communion, and then suddenly this witch is not a Earth 1 Nature 1, she's an Earth 2 Nature 2 or an Earth 3 Nature 3. That allows for things like Strength of Gaia, which would not only boost her nature magic, but also grant the slaves in that communion with all of those nature buffs. So that's kind of neat. That's pretty cool. It is something that could end up being useful, but is going to take a hefty investment for us to actually care about, right? So I don't know that we do at the moment, but maybe later on. The other thing is if we hadn't just gotten Mama Pacha, then this might be more interesting, but we did just get Mama Pacha, and we also have the Paquos of the Earth Spirits or whatever. So it's not something that we're like, oh my god, this is now the thing. Still neat, still gonna report on it. Aside from that, we have battles. So we have 3 battles, 2 against Ulm, and 1 against Agartha, which I think is the important thing here. So we'll look at our 2 against Ulm. These shouldn't really be anything. This is us attacking into Trandus. There should be a small amount of PD here. And this isn't really an attack against Ulm. This is just us trying to intercept the Agarthan forces. Ulm moved into Snowford, right, with good-sized army, because they're basically trying to get around me and go back west, right, is their kind of goal. So just back here shooting our PD to shit, no big deal. And then, very specifically, we did encounter Agartha on Rim Mountain. So let's see if this is actually the Agarthan army that we were hunting. So we have a big force here, mostly comprised of Condors with a few Sun Guard kind of mixed in, led by an Inca and Pachacuti, the Inca Chupac. And this is the stack that we were hunting. So, fair amount of heavy infantry, a little chunk of Shard Guard, and then kind of the big pain in the ass a bunch of Great Olms. And this is, what is this, 6, 12, 18, 24 Great Olms? So not as many as we thought there were, but still, we'll watch what happens, right? Like, immediately, bloom, 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 and all of these fucking condors are going to be paralyzed. Every single one of the condors that got hit is probably going to be paralyzed. So, we're going to see here in a second as we get our Strength of Gaia or our Divine Blessing off, and we start doing Strength of Giants and stuff like that. A bunch of our units are going to go up in the air, and a bunch of them are not. And the question is, my god, they got 3 volleys. Okay, so 3 volleys up in the air. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 condors that did not go up in the air. And there might be other condors that are already dead, right? So we had to send a lot in here. But was it enough? Now we are going to demolish the Great Olms in the backfield, but the question is did they do enough damage, and are these heavy infantry going to be able to do enough damage to rout us? We just stunned this Oracle of the Ancients back here because he has Iron Skin up, so he's susceptible to shock. I don't know if I don't know that there was anything that Agartha really could do, even if they did suspect us coming in. But I don't know that Agartha suspected us coming in. It looks like we've got this. So we were successful here, but what did it cost us? All right, it cost us 8 Condors and 13 Hatenruna. And again, keep in mind, like we're not getting any direct benefits out of this necessarily. We did this to assist Ulm, to reinforce our commitment to Ulm, but also to kind of like make sure that the war with Agartha wrapped up in a timely manner, so that Ulm and us were able to turn around and target Vanheim sooner rather than later, right? Was this worth it? Yeah, absolutely, right? Like, I 100% think so. This is half of a casting of Condors, which is, what? I mean, that's 4.5 gems, air gems, so, I mean, we're not happy about losing that, but, you know, we got a Girdle of Might out of it, so basically recouped that loss. Lost some Hatenruna, those are free for us, or all but free for us, not a big deal. So yeah, I think this was definitely worth doing. Definitely worth, I think, putting the timeline in. Now, if we had lost like 30 or so Condors, if we'd lost some of these Sun Guard, etc., etc., if we'd lost an Inca, I don't think it would have been worth it, right? I think we absolutely. So this force, if this had been closer to 30 Great Olms, if this had been, you know, another 12 Shard Guard, if there had been like 1 or 2 more mages in here to do various buffs or things like that, this could have been a different matter. But fortunately, it was not. So pretty happy about that. So yeah, nice. Battles for the turn versus Ulm, 1 win and 1 loss, but you know, we're not really worried about that. And then versus Agartha, 1 win and 0 losses, so we're very happy about that. And then there's also a battle, Ulm attacking into Wolvermori that we get to watch. There were actually several Ulmish raids this turn, and this is just a very simple, small amount of black iron plate, a master smith. This is quintessential kind of like very cheap, very efficient raiding from Ulm. Hopefully just enough to, and if he loses this, Ulm doesn't care. Whatever, no big deal. You know? Is this guy on fire? No, he has fire shield. Cool. Cool. All right, that's a victory in Wolvermori. So very nice. We've got some events this turn. We had an event in Mammoth Grove. A spirit was found fettered in the split trunk of an ancient oak and offered some magic gems in return for its release. So we got 5 nature gems out of that. And then in the Royal Green, a local wizard was found consorting with demons and, far worse, with rival nations. Oh shit. The foreign agent has been put under the axe and his lab plundered. So we got a whole host of gems out of plundering that lab. Very nice. Cool. So events this turn, 0 negative and 2 positive events. We just got a bunch of gems. We got air +4, water +2, earth +1, astral +1, death +5, and nature +8. So pretty damn decent for a turn of gem gain. What is that? That's 13, 14, 15, 17, 21 gems out of... How the fuck many gems do we even have this turn? Okay, we actually have a fair amount. What is that? 10... 15, 21, 27, 31, quick math. So, I mean, 31 gems, and then we got another 21 gems off of the back of that. That's pretty fucking good for the additional gems anyways. So, very happy. Cool. Yeah. We have breached Rim Mountains. We're storming it. No, we're absolutely not storming it. Let's talk about what's going on. We are just pulling out, as you can see, right, like we have a better view here. Ulm was able to hit every single one of Agartha's provinces except for the underwater province Mu. There is nothing in Mu. It is the last province that Agartha has. Ulm is working on getting over there. Ulm actually asked me if I had the ability to hit it the last turn or this turn, just to kind of put the final nail in Agartha in the coffin. And we do have like that ring of water breathing, so we could get down there with our little group of Supayas, but it would take us several turns actually. So we've kind of opted not to do that. It would take us like 3 or 4 turns just to get down there. Ulm was basically like, yeah, by that time I can take care of it, so no worries, right? So we got that situation. Easy peasy. You know, I could have just sent... I think I mentioned this. I think I mentioned that I had a pills of water breathing, but I think Ulm was just like, oh yeah, I can just make that, right? So I think they're basically just like, yeah, no, don't worry about it, you know, that type of situation. So we've got that going on. And that's pretty much it, really, for movement as far as the turn goes. We're basically just pulling out of the space, trying to get out of Ulm's way. Now, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, it doesn't really matter, but we can't really get all the way out, so we do have to ping Snowford on the way out. That's just going to give us, you know, some more gem income and gold income for a single turn. Ulm's going to take that right back, and that's it. That's Agartha. That conflict is done. It's been going on for a while now, technically. Agartha, I think the first battle against Ashdod was turn 14. I think Agartha attacked us on turn 15 or 16. And so we've been at war with Agartha for about 20 turns now. But a good, like, 7 or so of those turns, probably a good 10 of those turns, right? Well, no, probably closer to 8, because we attacked on turn 24, was it, right? We're basically, like, turns where no real action happened from us, right? It was just, we retreated into our capital, Agartha started to take land, Ashdod and, you know, Banheim started to take land. So we didn't really do anything for close to half of that kind of 20 turns of war. And then we beat them on our cap, and Ulm engaged, and this is where we ended up. So at the end of the day, right? At the end, what did we get out of the conflict with Agartha, right? Not what did we lose, because we still have missing pieces of land. Thanks, Vanheim. But what did we lose or what did we gain from Agartha? Because if you remember, we had Nephil and Mark as we went into that conflict with Agartha. Agartha had the Royal Green. So we gained the Royal Green, we gained Ironwood Forest and Austin Glen, we gained Centania, we gained Baral, and we gained Mike Marsh. So we gained 6 provinces. Technically, under Ulm and Mine Agreement, Ermithia is mine, but, you know, that's if I want to try to take it from Pelagia, which I'm like, nah, I'm good. Thanks, dog. Right? So we gained 6 provinces. We gained a fortification out of it. We've gained a couple of like little interesting sites, right? Some blood. We've site searched for more nature. We got some Hoburg access, right? Which could be interesting. We got some turtles. You know, I got a gold mine. So this hasn't been like the greatest thing on the face of the planet for us, but it hasn't been bad, obviously. So we're pretty happy with the results of this situation. Obviously, we're happy with the results. We're not dead. But that's pretty much it. So, what are we doing aside from this? It's gear up for Vanheim. That's what we're doing. All of the rest of the stuff that we're doing, all of the plans that we are making, the research goals that we're going at, etc., etc. This is all, what do we think we can do against Vanheim? What are we going to try to accomplish against Vanheim? The goal, again, I think is around turn 40 to get things started. So Jotunheim and Nabha have made peace, right? Ulm is getting prepared. I'm getting prepared. Jotunheim's getting prepared. Nabha, we're not really expecting anything from Nabha. Again, they only have like a single border. I think they have 118, so they have a border with Spires of Ascension. But even if they're just hitting Spires of Ascension, that is a fort that the rest of us don't have to worry about taking. And if they are nice about it, right, like maybe they take the fort and maybe they then ping the provinces around the fort just to kind of diminish Vanheim's ability over there. Vanheim would probably just write that off and not worry about it, but who knows. So yeah, that's the situation with that. Let's go ahead and jump into recruitment. Recruitment for the turn, we are doing 1 Akla, 1 Koya, 1 Apu, 1 Runanka, 1 Scout, 8 Alkak Runa Archers, and 4 Sun Guard. So as far as our recruitment goes this turn, I don't think there's anything that's really outside of the norm that we haven't explained already. We're continuing to get Alkak Runa Archers. We don't really have that much income, so we can't really get that much. Our goal is to have like a little stack of 30 or 40 of these guys that we can throw flaming arrows on and arrow fend on ourselves, and then be like, hey, we can shoot a couple of ponies. Cool. Fantastic. There's absolutely the probability that Vanheim will already have arrow fend, and then we'll end up shooting ourselves as much as we shoot the ponies. So, kind of whatever. We'll see how it goes. It is what it is, right? And then aside from that, I think the only thing is why are we getting a Koya this turn? And that's mostly just because Koyas are, one, we only have 1 Koya right now. We would like more Koyas. We have several Incas right now, so we want to get as many of those as we can. Or I say as many of those as we can. Koyas are better. Koyas are better buff mages than Incas are, right? Koyas have Earth, which allows us, Earth and Astral, which allows us to do some pretty good buffs. So we want to have access to that so that we can basically utilize those. You might notice, I'm not super happy about it, but this turn I do actually have Lightless Lanterns on Koyas and Incas, because again, we are trying to maximize our research. So I'm trying to leave no Lightless Lantern behind, basically. But that also means that we are risking getting horror marks on very important mages that I would rather not have horror marks on. We're going to kind of try to keep an eye on that. We did get a horror mark on this Pachacuti. This is not the hero Pachacuti. This is the other one. So his days are numbered. We're going to try to... That's the reason why we're getting Aklas. We're probably actually going to get Aklas for a couple turns. So, you know, and the idea there is to try to avoid having to put lightless lanterns on people that we don't want lightless lanterns on. So, is what it is. Other things, other recruits. Nazca recruits for the turn. 32 Hatan Runa and 2 Supaya. Just plugging away at that. Continuing onwards. The Hatan Runa are potentially going to be useful for us against Vanheim. They will typically beat low PD, right? The only thing is Van can kill the shit out of them anytime he wants to Cloud Trapeze one of our Hatan Runa stacks. He will kill that Hatan Runa stack. Guaranteed, right? If we do situations where we get some Hatan Runa, we attack some provinces with Hatan Runa, and he smashes those a couple times with Cloud Trapeze, we could sneak in our own units or magic phase in our own units or things like that to try to counter, right? So the idea is the Hatan Runa are going to get killed if Van decides he wants to kill them. But if Van gets into that habit, right, then we could breed a situation where we're giving ourselves the opportunity to be like, okay, you killed that Hatan Runa stack, or we're pretty sure you're going to kill this Hatan Runa stack. We're going to throw in a counter, right? Like we sneak in someone with a particular item or a particular magic, set, etc., etc. Other than that, the Hatan Runa are probably just going to be useful for patrolling and for cracking forts. So we're going to continue producing those as we can. Special recruits, 3 more wolves, continuing to try to get wolves. We actually have the unrest down in Mark a little bit. We're happy about that. So have that going on. Rituals for the turn. 2 Haru specs and 1 summon condors. Thanks to the 4 air gems that we got this turn, we were able to do an additional summoning of condors. And we're probably getting close to the point to where we're going to stop doing summon condors every chance we get, right? 1, we want to do other things with our air gems. 2, we kind of want to do other things with our Frostfather eventually. Although we're not really to the point where we're like, we have to start doing things because we don't have all of that stuff yet. But we are eventually going to get to the point to where we potentially want to do something like Riches from Beneath. So, we've got other things that we've got to kind of like look at before we get into that situation. So yeah. Oh, this is another thing that I haven't really talked about. We can foul vapors on our god. And that is a potential thing that Vanheim might not be prepared for or might not expect us to do. Right? So, for example, this big army over here on Ashdod, Van has poison resistance on his bless, so his vans are not going to be susceptible to something like foul vapors. But all of these Einhairs absolutely fucking would be, right? Obviously, he's got nature mages, right? He's got his lizard shamans that he can communion up. So if he's expecting it, he can do things like poison ward, or if he's far enough down, he can do something like Serpent's Blessing. But if he's not expecting it, then that is a way that we could also wipe another stack, right? And all of what we're trying to do is what can we do to effectively raid, and what can we do to wipe a stack? Rigor Mortis plays or fatigue plays, right? Like foul vapors traps, etc., right? Like what can we do to try to kind of give ourselves somewhat of a fighting chance? Don't know that there really is one. Okay, so that was rituals for the turn, and then the last thing that we've really got going on is some outgoing trade. We actually have quite a bit of outgoing trade this turn. Outgoing trade, we are sending Ulm 8 Death Gems and a Skull Face, and we're sending Vanarus 15 Nature Gems. So let's talk about what these trades are. The 8 Death Gems and the Skull Face to Ulm are pretty simple. That is a singular transactional thing. We are getting a pair of Earth Boots out of that, and obviously we're not trading a pair of Earth Boots for a Skull Face. We're trading a pair of Earth Boots for the utilization of a Skull Face. Ulm asked us if we actually had a Skull Staff, and I was like, nope, don't have that yet, but do you need a booster? And they're like, yeah, need a booster to make a booster, right? So we're basically just sending them the Death Gems to kind of like finalize, because otherwise they were not going to be able to make the booster this turn. And so we are sending the Death Gems for that rather than Earth Gems, which we would send for a pair of Earth Boots. Why are we trying to get Earth Boots? For a number of reasons, right? We want Earth Boots because it empowers our ability to cast higher Earth spells. Specifically, we can take an Earth 3 up to an Earth 4, and that Earth 4 can do things like, Earth Power and be an Earth 5, right? But more specifically, we don't have the ability to make Earth Boots right now, so that allows us to turn Earth 2s into Earth 3s, so that we don't have to empower for things like Strength of Giants, meaning we can get 1, 2, 3 Strength of Giants, right? Because normally we can only do Summon Earth Power, Strength of Giants, Strength of Giants. If we have Earth 3, we can just do Strength of Giants, Strength of Giants, Strength of Giants, and hit way more units in a situation like that. So that's pretty useful for us, but also it's just future insurance. We're going to need many pairs of Earth Boots, but as we move further into the game, we're going to try to stockpile boosters wherever we can. And we have a healthy, trading relationship with Ulm. So we want to foster that whenever we can. We could have, when Ulm reached out to us about, hey, do you have a Skull Staff that we could borrow so that we could make Skull Staffs, I could have just been like, no. I could have just been like, I'm not going to tell them that I have a Skull Face, and I'm not going to lend them the Skull Face because I don't want them to have better boosters or easier but I don't want that to happen, right? Like, I want my ally to be strong. I want my ally to be able to diversify in magic and be able to be better on the battlefield, and I also want to benefit from it, right? So gaining a pair of Earth Boots for 8 gems instead of 10 gems is perfectly valid for me, right? So very happy to do that. We'll be getting the Skull Face back probably in like 2 or 3 turns when Ulm is done with it. No big deal. We're not utilizing it for anything anyways right now. And I will say some people have made comments in the past that I should use my boosters for research more frequently, and they're probably right, but I'm very wary about doing that type of stuff because in the past I have randomly lost mages due to either assassinations or remote attacks or things like that, and had been using boosters just for the purpose of gaining those extra, 1 or 2 points of research. And that does, if you have 15 boosters laying around, right, like that's 15 points every turn, that can add up, right? It absolutely can add up. But having had that happen to me where like I just lost a very valuable kind of like booster randomly, I'm way more likely to be like, no, I'll survive without the additional research. It is what it is. It's not an optimal play, but it is what it is. Anyways, next thing up is the 15 Nature Gems to Vanarus. Vanarus just reached out in all chat and was like, hey, I need Nature Gems if anyone has them. I had been, especially last turn when we got Mama Pacha. Obviously, my god could have done it, right? But I had kind of been like thinking, oh, maybe we try to go for Mother Oak, but Vanheim put it up this turn, so I was just like, well, there's not really a reason for us to hold on to our nature gems. As long as we have enough nature gems to cast, Haruspex every turn as many times as we want to cast it, then we can get all of our site searching done, and it doesn't matter. So we are trading Vanarus 15 nature gems for 15 death gems, because death is a very valuable gem for us, and I kind of want to stockpile those as much as I can. We might try to, if the game goes long enough for us, we might try to make a play for something like Well of Misery, though that is very, very far in the future. So, anyways, that's going to be it for the turn, I think. I don't think there's really anything else to talk about. Nothing has really changed in the board state for Vanheim. The battle against Ashdod has not happened. Agartha's basically done. Nothing has changed in the board state for Pelagia. And that's pretty much that. So we're gonna hit, hopefully in the next couple turns, we're gonna continue to be building up on what can we do against Van, and kind of planning out strategies with Jotunheim and Ulm. And then we're gonna see how the fuck that works out for us, because I don't know that it's gonna. So yeah. Anyways, that's gonna be it for the turn. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.